All right, this lecture is going to talk about different health behavior models. Specifically, we're going to focus on one. But in general, it's important to know, why are we even using health behavior models? Well, we use them to help describe how and why people change. And if we can really know and understand how and why people change, then we can help our clients actually change, right? And it helps us understand the application of these models so that we can guide our clients more effectively, and so that we can use this to consider how we are going to implement it in our practice, and so that our clients can actually start making some health behavior change. So the model that we're going to talk about in this specific lecture is the trans-theoretical model of behavior change. And you'll see this noted in a lot of literature as TTM. In fact, many of you have probably heard of the trans-theoretical model of behavior change. And this model emphasizes the importance of viewing intentional behavior change as a process that occurs over time. It was developed in the 1980s by Prochaska and Di Clemente, and is originally applied to work with people who were trying to overcome addictions like smoking. But since then, we started to use a lot in more health behavior changes, including positive health changes like physical activity and better nutrition. And so this is a nice visual of what it looks like. There are 5 stages, and I'll spend more time in just a moment talking about each of these stages. But there are 5 stages that go into this model. And if you're just beginning and you've never made this change, whatever change you're trying to make, you start with pre-contemplation. Then you move to contemplation, preparation, action, and then maintenance. And it's fluid, so just because you reach maintenance doesn't mean that you can't come back to preparation, right? So this is what we call moving through the stages. There isn't one singular path through this kind of stage of change model, but rather it's a fluid and non-linear thing, because people are going to relapse, right? They're going to make a behavior, they're going to do really, really great at it for a while, and then something will happen and they'll go back within these stages. But then they'll get back to it and they'll move forward up the progress with this stage of change model, okay? And it helps us determine a client stage so that we can recognize where they are on this behavior change continuum. And then by doing that, we can better understand their goals and then really effectively strategize so that we can help them move to the next stage. So let's go ahead and start with the pre-contemplation stage. So essentially at this stage, people are just unaware of that they even need to change, or that they want to change. And they don't believe it's a problem, and they don't think it's a problem that needs to be solved. So if this is a client and they're kind of speaking in ways that indicate that they're in this pre-contemplation stage, the goal for you is to increase the awareness of the risks that they have of maintaining kind of where they're at, maintaining that status quo, and the benefits of making that change. We also want to focus on addressing something relevant to them and having them start to think about change, right? Some strategies might include validating the lack of readiness to change and clarifying that this decision is theirs. They are choosing that they don't want to change. Another strategy, for example, would be exploring the client's personal values. Because again, like I said in previous lectures, the more you know about their values, the better you're going to be able to help them in behavior change, including moving along this behavior change model. Let's go into the second stage, which is contemplation. So this is a stage where people are aware of the problem and weighing the benefits versus the risks of change. So they have little understanding of how to go about doing it, but they know it's an issue. So here the goals might be to collaboratively explore available options that they have around them, and support cues to action, and provide basic structured guidance upon request from the client and with permission. That's key. So we provide guidance when we ask for permission and when the client says yes. I personally always like to say, would you mind if I provided some information on how to go about doing this? I always start with would you mind? Asking for permission automatically puts people less on the defensive and makes them want to kind of listen and be involved in that conversation. A strategy here might be to encourage the evaluation of pros and cons of making that change. So there's multiple strategies. I won't read them all here, but it's important that you kind of understand them and how they can help with someone in contemplation stage. Now the next stage is preparation, and this is someone who is seeking opportunities to engage in that target behavior. A goal here might be to co-create an action plan with frequent positive feedback and reinforcements on their progress. And a strategy might be to assist the client in identifying social support and establishing goals. Action stage is when someone desires for opportunities to maintain the activity. They've changed their beliefs and attitudes about that health, whatever that health activity is, and they have a high risk for lapses or returns to undesirable behavior. So action is one of those where you're like, yes, my client is in action stage, they're actually engaging in the health behavior. The problem is this stage is when they're most likely to actually lapse and go back. So it's a really critical stage that we have to be delicate with our clients. So a goal here might be to establish the new health behavior as a habit through which motivation and adherence is to desired behavior, right? So if we can help them be motivated, particularly have intrinsic motivation, they're more likely to adhere to that behavior. And the strategy might be to, help with their behavior modification strategies. We can maybe restructure cues and social support around them so that this action can be a long-term change. And we can support our clients in establishing systems of accountability and self-monitoring. Now, this last stage is maintenance. And this is typically, when we say maintenance, this is typically someone who's been doing the behavior for 6 months or more. And so that's the difference between action and maintenance. Maintenance is kind of 6 months and more. And the traits here of someone who is in maintenance are they're empowered, but they have desire and means to maintain adherence, right? They feel like they know how to do it, they feel comfortable in doing it, and they want to keep doing that health behavior. They have a good capability to deal with lapses. So at this point, they've now been doing it for so long, again, it's 6 months or more, that even if something were to happen, they're able to kind of get back on that wagon and continue that health behavior. Some goals here might be to maintain support systems, that's always helpful, and to maintain interest and avoid burnout or boredom. A few strategies might include planning for potential lapses. So for an example, if you have a client who's in a maintenance stage and you're coming up to the holidays, you might think through ways to kind of plan for some of the potential lapses that might happen. Maybe they won't be able to get to the gym as much. Maybe they might have some higher level anxiety by being around family members they're not normally around. So planning for those things. So let's go ahead and just stop here. I want you to recap what the trans-theoretical model is and how you can use it with your clients. I also want you to be able to understand those 5 different stages, really be able to define those stages and understand how you can move a client throughout those stages. Pause here, answer these questions, and I'll see you for the next lecture.